I am pleased to welcome President Lisa Vollendorf and Kelly Corrigan back to the stage for a conversation about Empire State University's Access mission and President Vollendorf's vision for the university's role in public higher education.
Hi, you came back from drinks. I'm so relieved. I wanted to start by saying something really nice about my husband because I disparaged him twice in my remarks, but I want you to know that I'm actually really crazy about him, and I do like an environment where there's no disparaging, so I take it back. I take it back.
That's a great start.
Yeah, and your husband's here.
Yeah, and I adore him.
And tomorrow's a huge day, so you got like people coming to town, and it's like
so I can't afford to lose any chits.
Right.
So there will be no disparaging.
That's right.
Not even in my head.
We're going to keep it civil. So you started in July.
July 1, 2022.
And what's your first big surprise?
Well, I think my first big surprise was that SUNY Empire State, now university, is seriously a going concern. And I knew that, of course, before I took the position. But when I first got the calls to say, hey, this could be a really interesting job, we're really looking for somebody who likes to move and think and be with people and learn what's going on and what's possible, I was like, well, that's very nice, but I've never heard of this school. Mm-hmm. And that is not good for us. And that is not good for our mission of access. And I got really hooked on that premise that Empire State College could be something more than even we possibly knew at the time.
Yeah.
And then when I got here and I'm looking around and some of the people I met in my first weeks on the job are sitting in the front row, for which I thank you.
That's right.
And as I was walking around town, it was track season, so there were a lot of people in town from everywhere. And we had what I learned now is called in New York, and I quote, a torrential rain.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, we don't get that in California. Right. We only get atmospheric river.
Right.
But we don't get torrential rain.
That's right.
And so we tucked ourselves in, about 5 of us tucked ourselves under the eaves of the Alumni House, which is one of the beautiful historic buildings that we have in Saratoga. And there was a couple there, and in fact, Sue, you and I were there together. And there was a retired police officer who had worked for years running the NYPD Academy.
Uh-huh.
And he talked for a solid 9 minutes, and if we had been thinking on our feet, which we were not, we would have just filmed it and just sent it out to the universe because he talked about how much Empire State had changed hundreds of people's lives who were police officers who he had seen grow up as police and go out into the world.
Yeah.
So really this idea that everywhere I go, I meet people who say, oh, I know Empire, or the people, if I go to Albany and meet with Congress, assembly people and senators, inevitably 1 or 2 of the staff will say, oh, I started at Empire a while ago.
Uh-huh.
Or my son just finished his degree with you. So our reach is far.
Right.
But we haven't yet leveraged the potential of that for it to be farther and more impactful.
And is that job one? Like, do you know? I'm sure that you're sort of overwhelmed with ideas about what's possible.
I am, because everybody in this room has probably 30 that they just thought of when you said that.
Yeah. Yes, exactly. So do you have a sense of like, is job one to like throw open the doors even wider, to find ways for more people to be able to come here, to use this?
I think yes, I'm gonna say yes, that I feel that for us right now, job one is to leverage the potential of the name change to university status.
Yeah.
And to really lean into that so that we become a household name in the region and beyond. But I really want every single person, just to start in New York State, to know that there is a public institution that is primarily online that has been doing this work meaningfully and with integrity for a diverse student population for decades, and that we are here for you. To the point you were making earlier about we need a diverse plethora of options in public education, and I couldn't agree more with that. But most states, in fact, I don't personally know of another state that has a an institution that was created to be innovative and to continue to evolve to meet the needs of people who were not seeing themselves in a 4-year residential experience. And we have that, and that is a gift, I think, that was given to the state. And I feel a sense of urgency and a sense of really responsibility to get the word out that we're here in service to you. I mean, we leave 70% of people behind in higher education in this country. So when presidents and enrollment officers and people across the country are talking about the demographic decline and fewer students in K through 12, yes, but that is really taking an idea of what the potential is of public education and limiting it to what has been. Which so I find the conversations about a demographic cliff to border on the elitist in some ways. Because we really should be saying, okay, that's fine, the small schools can be around and the residentials have a place, as you say, that's very powerful and very transformative for a smaller number of people, but what about the balance of the population?
Right, right. You took the essay off the application.
We did.
Why?
So we had required, and one, Empire State University, see, I keep saying it just so we all get used to it. Empire State University we use our own application, which is very unusual. So most places use, like the SUNY app or the Common app. So the first conversation I had with Andrea Hennessy about, we get, X number of applications and we convert a very high percent. So people already have had to have figured out who we are to apply to Empire State. And then we were looking at the incomplete apps, and the incomplete apps were around the essay. They really weren't around because we're very liberal in our approach to credit for prior learning. And if you don't bring forward all your transcripts, we won't not admit you, unlike a lot of other schools. But we looked at the essay and saw that it was really presenting a barrier for certain student populations. And that's not what we're about. And I think that being more agile in higher education about removing barriers is something that is challenging for us. I mean, I know it is for me, and I know that we think a lot about, we've done it this way, and it's worked, but we need to be flipping the question to say, for whom is it not working?
Right,
because
right,
that's
right.
how we shut people out.
Right, right. I was thinking about Chat GPT.
So were many people in this room.
Yeah. So, those essays will be even less interesting by the time the next season of applicants come through.
Well, but they'll be easier to read, probably. Let's be honest.
That's right.
It's
That's
true.
right. If you had to say, what is the thing in front of you that could expand access that feels the most complex? Like, what are you still noodling on? Like, I can't quite figure out how to do X.
That's a good question for all of us, I think, at the institution.
And everyone would have you'd have an incredible variety.
We
of
would have
answers.
incredible wealth of knowledge. Kelly commented after the last hour that the questions were very deep in terms of what
And
people brought forward.
I mean, this is such an
was
unusual
wonderful.
audience. I mean, you're kind of brilliant.
Yeah, basically,
Yeah.
you're brilliant.
You're
Thank
brilliant.
you. I think I noodle a lot on what does this mean that we have accepted, that we are complacent, even those of us who are devoted to public higher education as the democratizing force, as the force for social mobility, for upward mobility, for people lifting themselves and their families, to the point of that you made earlier. I think a lot about, again, flipping that to why is it that we are, as a country, essentially complacent around not helping, not encouraging all children to dream the dream of higher education. And so I noodle a lot on what role we can play in higher education, what role we can play at Empire State University, but also who are the other partners, and what do we need to also be encouraging as thought leaders and as people deeply devoted to the possibility of equity for more people?
I was just thinking about BetterHelp.
Yeah.
It's an online therapy, and it's totally normalized now that you would talk to a therapist on a laptop. I've done it myself. They advertise on our podcast and almost all others, but which to me says that there's yet another example of something that seemed like you couldn't possibly do that laptop to laptop and have it be effective, that we're all accepting as like, actually that's a totally effective way to do it, and way more people are willing to do it at that price point and at that with that level of convenience that would have been willing to do it before, and what potential might that unleash, and what sort of pain and dead ends might that avoid? And it's not dissimilar. There must be other signs across society that you think that's significant. If that works, our thing will work too.
Absolutely.
It's got to be the golden age for Empire State, right? I mean, this has got to be like the biggest window. It's like you.
Well, I think so, but.
Right? I mean, it's just a huge moment.
It's definitely
where the society is
a big moment.
meeting what you do already.
Yes.
And what you're expert in. You being everyone who teaches here.
We have so much to be proud of at the institution, and I do think that there are signs around the state. So the conversation earlier about the ages of our students, and the ages are trending downward, and we are teaching across multiple generations, which presents challenges. It presents pedagogical challenges, social and cultural challenges for us at the institution to be able to support not just individuals, but people who have really different expectations of what it means to take a class with us, or to be served by us, and for us to be in service to them.
Yep.
So we recently, two thoughts on that. One is that increasingly, there are strong data out there to suggest that students who took high school online during the pandemic, who were flipped to basically Zoom class, not what any of us would call well-designed online courses, of course, that increasingly 18 to 22-year-olds in this country are enrolling in fully online programs. And a lot of them are doing it within 30 miles of where they live. And so there's this notion of, I know Montana State, so I'm going to sign up with them for their online whatever.
Mm-hmm. Like that brand is meaningful to me.
That brand is meaningful because it's local, essentially, just as the regional colleges were meant to be, right, in service to the local communities. So we're seeing more and more 18 to 22-year-olds choose online programming, for the fully online for their undergrad, with the idea, I think, that they know where they're going next. Mm-hmm. So we graduated this last year in Albany. We had our commencement in December, and we had a 19-year-old and a 75-year-old.
So great.
Great.
I know it complicates the picture, but that is so cool.
It's so cool, and I think that is a challenge for us to recognize and embrace, and really together get our heads around. How can we probably each are going to have a different superpower, right, around our pedagogy, and how can we together think about the institution serving that broad range. And we also did something that I found extraordinarily moving, and I want to give a shout out to Andrea Hennessy for her strong leadership in this space. We have, there were a lot of students who went online during COVID and then really couldn't go back to school. Like, it was not comfortable for them for whatever reason, in terms, as you were saying, because people learn in different ways. And a lot of them, I think, were struggling before COVID anyway.
Right.
And some of them then were able, thanks to BOCES, which are these regional, honestly, I don't even know what it is, but it's something in New York where they have this acronym that you have to study up on.
Okay.
But then you have to forget it immediately because 4 more acronyms come in your head. It's one of those. They are supports to school districts in places where the school districts can't afford to offer all the services. So they aggregate the services here. And some of the BOCES did offer online, fully online high school completion to some students on the back end of COVID.
Yep.
And we have a video that was taken at one of the Long Island BOCES meetings where a high school senior was presented his high school diploma to much fanfare from teachers. You could tell it took the whole village, it took the family, it took the teachers, it took the BOCES to come up with, these are people who need online to get through or they will never graduate. This thing is not working for them. So there were several speeches about the student struggled, but he persevered, and he was handed his high school diploma. And then the gentleman who was giving the presentation said, and there's more. You, Matthew, also, we've talked a lot about what it means to persevere and get your high school degree. Getting your high school degree opens doors for you. In fact, I have your admission letter from SUNY Empire State, and I'm going to hand it to you right now. And everybody, his mom started crying. I started crying watching the video.
Yeah.
That's what we can do.
Right.
That kid now has a dream of college, and that's a kid who probably 10 years ago would never even have finished high school.
Right, and those pockets are becoming more visible. Do you feel?
Yes, I do.
Do you feel it's easier to locate those populations so that you know who you need to get in front of and then who you need to talk to and inspire?
I think we have one of the great benefits that we have of being distributed across the state. Folks in this room travel here to be here for our annual meeting, no longer called All College. I know it's hard for everybody. And it means that we have eyes and ears and talent and heart distributed across the state. So I think we can leverage our embeddedness better to learn more. But I also think that a lot of our students tell us that they identify as being neurodiverse. To your point earlier, we are the first and only designated autism supportive higher education institution in the country currently.
Wow.
So we've really leaned in, and again, to the great credit of people who are here and who work in those spaces, and to the people on our staff and on our faculty who have thought deeply and hard about what does it mean to serve this broad spectrum of humans, and how can we meet all of them where they are. So I think that some of the things you were saying about comfort with self-identification or even self-advocacy that we see, especially in younger generations, we are ready to receive those students and also to adapt to what they're telling us they need, because that's built into our fabric.
Right. So 5 years from now, what will it look like?
That's what I asked everybody this morning.
You did?
I did.
And what did they tell you?
One person said
Was there a pattern to what they told you?
Well, we always have the renegades who say we'll have 50,000 students.
How many students do you have now?
15,000. So that would be a lot. But
Good for you, renegade.
I think 5 years from now, my dream, just at a very basic level, is that we will have gotten the word out, that people will know that Empire State University is not just where Spider-Man graduated from, which he did, by the way.
Which is not a bad fact. I mean, that's
pretty good.
Yeah.
I personally love Spider-Man. But also, seriously, people will know, at least in the state of New York, that there is an online, there's an institution that's primarily online that specializes in doing deeply high quality pedagogy, teaching and learning, credit for prior learning, and that we are an option for them. I would love people across zip codes, across races and ethnicities, across all different backgrounds and job classes and socioeconomic bands to know that we are a viable option for high quality education, either at so we give associates or bachelor's or master's level, and we have one doctoral program. So I think that our brand opportunity is critically important for us to be able to meet our access mission. So it's not just to elevate the brand, That's not the point.
That's
It's
right.
in service to the humans in the state of New York.
Right, absolutely. I mean, to the extent that your brand could be top of mind,
Yes.
is the extent to which you can serve. Like they
Absolutely.
can't use it if they don't know about it.
Absolutely.
And how do you feel like the college university distinction helps?
So I've given this a lot of thought, in part because we had to write a press release.
Oh, uh-huh.
So,
Nothing
that does,
will make you
yeah.
push your, yes.
Yeah, rubber to the road right there. And we had been reading, so a lot of the other comprehensive colleges already made the switch to university over the last few months. So the SUNYs did, and a lot of the privates did earlier because they have less, let's face it, bureaucracy to cut through to be able to make the change. And what we noticed across all of the press releases and the social media posts was people said, we're a university, aren't we great? And what we're saying is we're a university, and that is in service to our students and our alumni and to prospective students, because it does elevate your prospects on the job market. It does elevate, there is a gravitas to saying you have a university degree. And with the exception, of course, of fill in the blank number of private colleges that, I mean, Skidmore does not need to rebrand. It's doing just fine, thank you. And it has a certain brand that people recognize. But for everybody else, university, and especially when you talk about people from different language backgrounds, different nationalities, I mean, in the languages I speak, college is high school. It's either middle school or high school. So that when you say you work at a college, unless it's Harvard and people recognize it globally, your brand is already diluted. So our international partners are thrilled. As they should be.
Also, I wonder if you guys believe, if it feels different to you to say I work at a university. Yeah? Yeah, and to the extent that it matters to the next wave of job applicants, like everything, it has the potential to just make everything more elevated.
I think so too.
More substantial.
In fact, I think if we have a strategic plan, we should call it Elevate.
Okay. I believe you've been working on a strategic plan. Is that what you called it?
Elevate 28.
Right on.
Why
28?
Because when you talk about how long do you think the strategic plan should last, and all the specialists who, of course, are the consultants who want to be paid to come in to help you write your plan, say 3 years maximum. We said 3, maybe we'll still be tired from the first one. So we said 5. 5 gives us time to go where we think we want to go, and enough time to adjust along the way, and to really, I think, lean into this opportunity to elevate across all of our priorities, across the way we serve students, the way we're in service to people meaningfully through a diversity, equity, and inclusion lens.
Yeah. Do you have visions for specific ways of communicating the newness that is Empire State University, vis-a-vis like the video of the police officer? Like, is someone stewing on that right now? Like how to tell this story in the best conceivable way?
Well, we've been stewing on it for quite a while, and we did have a social rollout that was pretty extensive. Again, we have the opportunity of learning from those who came before us, who one day just said, now we're a university. And a lot of people responded saying, well, that sucks. I graduated from the college.
Yeah.
So we saw that a lot, especially from, if you think about Oneonta, for those of you, which is pretty much everybody who's familiar with the whole landscape in New York, Oswego, Oneonta, like these are places where you had the college experience. And then one day, and one of the presidents said, this doesn't really matter, it doesn't change anything. That was the quote in the paper. So we learned from negative example. And I think as we go forward, I think we will all have an opportunity to speak directly to what we mean by this, this elevation in status that really is, it's that it caught, the state of New York's definition caught up with what we are and who we do. And I think we lean into that with pride. I don't think that it will be that much of a change, except it will be hard, because if you say college every single day, multiple times, it is hard to change that behavior. But I think if we can think about that as being in service to not just the students we serve, but to students who haven't even thought about coming to us, I think we'll make that change.
I had a strong sense when I was talking to folks during the cocktail hour that people feel deeply connected to their work here. Do you have
wonderful.
an early sense, 6 months in or whatever it's been, why people love working here, why they stay, what they hope for?
I think about this a lot. So generally speaking, at colleges and universities, we have a lot of longevity for our faculty and staff. Empire State has changed a lot, probably more than some institutions, many institutions over time, and people continue to be deeply committed, and I think it's because our values have been clear from the beginning, and we have expressed those through our work in different ways and through different organizational structures. And you know, in the past, we would express it through meeting with a student and devising a full program for them, individually developed. And we still do some of that, but we've really shifted more. Students really are telling us they want program, what we would call majors at most other institutions, like preset registered programs. But we have, regardless of when I think all of us enter into this community, this is a community of educators deeply, deeply committed to the democratizing vision of public higher education. And that's what I think we share, and that's what I think helps us even when we're frustrated or don't like an X decision or Y direction. We show up again, and we show up really with energy and commitment to do the work, because we know we're here for the students we serve, and also we're here for the promise of serving more people across a broader spectrum.
Yeah, I was talking to somebody in the book signing line, and I said, do you think I was too idealistic in my talk? And she said, no. Like, we believe. We wouldn't be here if we didn't believe. We wouldn't be able to do the job if you didn't think it could actually work. You could actually send 15, 20, 25,000 people out into the world every year, forever.
I agree. We're an idealistic bunch, I think, those of us who choose to work in public higher education.
Yeah.
And you know, our work is not easy by some measures, but I think everybody in this room would agree when I say we are deeply privileged to be in service to our students and to the state and to the ideal that we can make the world a better place through our work with our students.
Hear, hear. This is a lovely, lovely group of people to spend an afternoon with. Thank you so much. I'm totally knocked out by you and everybody in this room. I thought your questions were incredible. I'm like in it with you guys. Like if there's ever anything I can do, I'm in.
Can I have a sticker?
Yes.
I got a sticker.
Thank you so much. Thank you
for spending the afternoon with us.
Sure, amazing.
What a pleasure. Thank you all.
Have fun tomorrow getting inaugurated.